Hercules is one of the most legendary games from our childhood with many epic boss fights, but not all of the enemies are equal in difficulty, some being more easy than the others. So today I'll rank every single boss fight in Hercules game, starting from the easiest one and going all the way to the hardest of them all. Starting at the number 7, the Harpies encounter is more of a rescue challenge than a traditional boss fight. Instead of learning a complex attack patterns, the goal is to defeat the Harpies before they carry civilians away, making efficient use of the lightning sword power-up. Once a player understands their flight paths and keep moving between targets, the fight becomes very consistent. Compared to every other boss that is yet to await for us, it demands the least precision and has the simple mechanics. The next one is Minotaur. The Minotaur boss fight is only slightly harder than the Harpies because the encounter is longer than the previous one and requires a bit more patience, because to defeat him you must carry the giant boulders from the end of the arena and throw them during the brief openings between his attacks. While you are carrying a boulder, the Minotaur fights back by throwing smaller rocks at you, forcing you to time your movements carefully so that you are not hit. The whole battle ends after landing enough successful hits, making it more a simple environmental challenge than a traditional boss fight. The next one is Hades. Yes, Hades, despite being the final boss, he is surprisingly easy to defeat when you compare him to other boss fights in the game. He is slower and his attacks are mainly throwing fireballs at you while trying to keep his distance, leaving plenty of opportunities to come closer and attack him with a sword. Hit him enough times and you will beat the whole game. Because of this and his simple attack pattern being slow, many guides consider Hades as one of the easier bosses in the game rather than the hardest one. Next at the number 4 is Hydra. Hydra is one of the most iconic boss fights in the whole game, because of its mechanics that when you defeat one head, another one grows, making the monster larger and larger. But despite it, the Hydra is surprisingly a straightforward boss fight once you recognize the attack patterns. Each head lunges in turn, and the correct response is to sidestep and slash it with the sword before the next attack begins. Pretty easy because there is little randomness and the arena gives you plenty of room to move, so the battle can end quickly once the enough heads have been defeated. It is harder than the previous bosses, but is still much easier than the bosses that are yet to come. Next at number 3 is Nessus the Centaur. Nessus boss fight is memorable because the game asks the player to discover a unique solution instead of simply attacking him with a sword, because to defeat him you must bait his charges by waiting on a safe distance and then jump onto his back when the opportunity appears. You do this enough times and he will become dizzy. That's the moment when you finish him with a fully charged punch in the face. None of these steps are especially difficult individually, but first time players can often fail because the game provides only subtle clues on what to do and how to defeat him, so once the mechanic is understood, the battle becomes much easier. At the number 2 is One-Eyed Cyclops. This boss fight is unlike any other encounter in the game, because you never fight him directly like the previous ones. Instead, the entire level is a huge chase sequence where you must run through Thebes while avoiding his attacks and the obstacles created by his destruction, which are basically people running at you. This makes the challenge unique because you need to survive the escape rather than deal the damage, which requires quicker reactions and precise platforming from the player. The whole encounter ends with the scripted cutscene once you reach the end of the level, making it more of a cinematic chase than a traditional boss battle. And finally at number 1, Medusa. Unlike the cartoon where Medusa is an easier fight for Hercules, here she becomes the hardest boss fight in the whole game. This whole sequence combines several challenges into one fight, because first, you must avoid her eye beams and poison attacks that she throws at you. Second, you must deal with skeleton warriors that keep getting in your way while fighting Medusa at the same time. But instead of defeating her with direct attacks, you have to use mirrors around the arena to reflect her eye beams back her. This requires good timing, careful movement and constant attention, making this the most difficult and unique boss fight in the whole game. So that's a complete ranking of every boss fight in the Disney Hercules. But if you think a different boss deserves a higher or a lower spot, let me know down in the comments. I would also love to know if you ever played this game and which boss gave you the most trouble. So let's compare our rankings.